And I'm going to go ahead and hit record as well. Probably get a little window there that you um, accept. So if you can make it into the chat. And then we'll get started in just a moment. Hi there. Hi, Cindy from Montana. Got a few more trying to get in the Zoom room, so we'll just give them a moment. So if you're just joining us in the Zoom room, we're just giving a minute or two to get everyone who's going to be present with us in. And in the meantime, if you'd like to type in the chat where you are signing in from, that would be wonderful. And also, while we're waiting, if you are already using essential oils and you have a favorite oil, you could also type that into the chat. Of course, today's topic is oils as allies. So I always have an ally before I give any lesson, talk, anything to energetically support me. So I have my adaptive here today, and I will talk a little bit about this oil. It's a blend of oils. But if you happen to have already an oil near you and you want to give yourself a little boost, otherwise take a second and see if you can, let me see. Oh, Amy, a few people also texting me. Oh, okay. Yes. It's always lovely when you sign on to Zoom and it decides to update the minute you sign on. So welcome everyone to this Oils for Allies webinar. I'm going to go ahead and begin. I know we're going to have a few stragglers, but I want to be mindful that it's Sunday, that you've made the effort to be here with me live, which I so appreciate. Is everyone hearing me okay? Is the volume, yeah, coming in clear? Great. So here we go. Okay, here comes Sky, a couple others. We always try to give the Italian. So I'm American born. I was born in the United States near Chicago, but I have lived in Italy for the last 12 years. So I have definitely adapted the Mediterranean sense of time. I know that we're not all Swiss, so I always give a few moments at the beginning of a webinar to get everyone on the ship before we set sail. But as I was saying, I want to be mindful that it is Sunday. You've taken the time to be here. So while some are still coming on into the room, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to this webinar, Oils as Allies. Let me see if I can remember how to use my arrows. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Molly Kaufman. As I just said, I was born in the US, but I've been based in Italy for the last 12 years. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. I worked in integrative medicine in Chicago for a long time before I was a medical volunteer in Nepal and ended up meeting my husband, who's Italian, which brought me over to this side of the ocean. I'm also a yoga and meditation instructor and international retreat leader. Those are the titles which I suppose we use in our society to just sort of help us understand that we can have some trust in what someone is saying, that they have the credentials to back up what they're talking about. But in essence, and of course, we're here to talk about essential oils. And I always giggle how many times the word essence or essentially comes out inevitably when we begin to talk about the essence of nature. I was introduced to some of the nature philosophies pretty early in life, Taoism, Buddhism, and I think that they've very much governed a lot of my choices, including moving toward the holistic medical realm rather than the modern medical realm, although I did choose to work in integrative medicine because I believe that there are strengths and weaknesses to everything in life. I've been using essential oils for about 15 years. I started, like many, in the realm of aromatherapy in my treatment rooms, in my clinic, because I realized the power they had to change the ambiance, right? To change the energy in the environment for my patients, depending on what they were coming in with or what the last person left with. And so I had already tapped into the power of the oils in that way, but I really didn't know in the beginning just how vast the power of the oils are. And I also didn't know that essential oils are actually part of traditional Chinese medicine. We think of the oils as something modern, sort of more a modern fad or something that's becoming popular now, but actually they have been part of the most ancient medical traditions, including the one that I practice and follow. And even I didn't know that until I started researching more and getting more deeply involved with the oils. Right off the bat for today, let me go back so you're not distracted. So today is really an introduction to the oils, but in a very special way. As I said, I entered into the world of oils, I think like a lot of people do with the aromatherapy. It's something usually we're familiar with, at least the idea, even if you've never not experienced it yet. Unfortunately, it's hard not to experience it these days because I feel like so many places have a lot of the chemical perfumes, sort of moving out into the air, the Glade plugins, these different various ways that people are tapping into the wisdom of aromatherapy, but not with nature, which is actually one of the problems that we're facing in our well-being and in our world. But I'm going to give you a lot of information today. And really, the scope of this webinar is perhaps one of the broadest of any webinar that I do. But again, as I continue to move more deeply into the world of essential oils and I see how they're really changing people's lives as allies, as support for the choices that we're making in our lives, my passion has grown from using them as a healing tool and a medical tool to really sharing them and educating about this incredible vast presence that they can have in our lives and how they can facilitate helping us to return to a place of better quality of life, a place of wellness. Maybe you're looking to go deeper into your spiritual practice. Maybe you're starting to hear how toxic our environments are and how many things in your home actually carry chemicals that are bad for your hormones and your nervous system. So whatever it is that brought you here, I'm hoping to touch at least partly into it by giving you a broad overview. We will talk specifically about a couple oils as examples within each category that we're going to talk about. So of course, from the emotional realm to the physical realm to non-toxic living, we're going to try to cover it all. I'm going to try to do it in 50 minutes so that we have a little time at the end of the call. If you have questions, you want clarifications, obviously this is being recorded, so you'll get the recording also via email after the webinar. And if you want to reach out to me or whoever invited you to the webinar, post a lot of information coming your way. But the whole idea here is to whet your appetite, if you will, to pique your curiosity and to open your mind to all of the possibilities within the world of essential oils. And okay, now we can get to this slide. And right off the bat, this is often something I talk about at the end of webinars, but today I just want to slap it up here right at the beginning. And the reason is that in the wellness industry, which it's funny to me that it's even like we've allowed that word to be matched with wellness, because what that means really is that there's a consumerism aspect to it. And I personally still struggle. I'm still struggling in that place of, I guess you guys didn't want to hear that part. Is that what happened? So welcome, Sky. Welcome, Victoria. I guess probably I just needed to welcome you again to this Zoom. So sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but let's go ahead and get the screen shared again and continue this journey. Can you give me a thumbs up that you're hearing me again? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. Sorry about that. I mean, life is life. That's why I put on adaptive essential oil before I do Zooms, because even all these years later, I'm still a bit terrified of technical things. And there you go. So life gave me the challenge, and here we go. We just forge ahead and have another smell of the essential oil. So as I was saying, we really have to do our due diligence, because there are a lot of people tapping into the fact that interest is rising as we're looking at the world around us and recognizing that some of the industrialized choices we've made are actually impacting us in negative ways. And so in the mindset of capitalism and consumerism, that does give people an opportunity to sell things under the premise that they're good for us. In the realm of essential oils, it's actually estimated right now that about 87% of essential oils that are sold are either synthetic or adulterated. And so that's why I'm just putting this slide up right from the get-go, because anything else that I say today, as I talk about the oils, as I talk about the energetics, as I talk about the therapeutic value of these oils, everything I say can really only apply to an oil that is pure. And that is the main reason that 5 years ago, I chose to partner with the company doTERRA. A medical colleague of mine introduced me to the company. And I, like many people, I took a year, actually almost two, just to live with the oils, use them in my practice, see what they were all about. And really, when I started interacting with these oils, I felt like I met essential oils for the first time. The most important piece here, though, in this partnership for me is that doTERRA oils are pure, and not only pure, but they're incredibly transparent about where they come from, how they're grown, how they're harvested, and even third-party testing results, so that we know time and again that what we're using and what we're getting, even bottle to bottle, batch to batch, has a similar chemistry. And that's really the only way that the essential oils are impactful. And of course, there is that piece where you have to use them for them to be impactful, but that's also part of the reason we work as a community and we work through education. And education here is here, of course. It is a direct sales company. And the reason it's a direct sales company is because they realized, again, that the potential of the oils can only really be revealed if people know how to use them. So it's great if you have an essential oil, but if you don't know how to use it properly or apply it to the question that you're asking, the benefits and the impact are not going to be what you're hoping for. And then, as I already kind of joked about, if you have an essential oil and you just don't use it, maybe because you don't know how to use it, it's also not going to have a positive impact as an ally in your life. So education is also a key pillar of this company. And for me as a yogi, I also am always deeply touched by the integrity of the company with their co-impact sourcing initiatives, something we can dive deeper into in another webinar. We talk a lot about it in our customer chats and our group chats. Service-oriented company, really trying to do good and make sure that these gifts of the earth that are such powerful allies for living are here for us for many, many generations to come. And it's really neat because I just happened to glance at a BBC report on how chimpanzees, I think it was, they are starting to gather more evidence about all the ways they self-medicate in the forest. And so for me, I love that some of that is also coming into mainstream media, because inherently we actually carry that knowledge as well. We know a lot about what to do for our bodies, but culturally, because we have been removed more and more and more from nature over the centuries and over the generations, we've lost a lot of this knowledge, and we've lost touch with our inherent wisdom about it, because a lot of us are no longer living in bodies that really resemble nature. I'm sure all of you on the call are doing a great job, but you know what I mean. So what is an ally? Because today's topic is oils as an ally. So, the first three are kind of some of the typical things, like a helper, something that provides assistance, some support in an ongoing effort. And I added the last two really talking about life as an exchange of energy. And so an ally can also be something that carries the energy of what you're aspiring to manifest. And so it acts as like a beacon. And this, you can kind of think of it as, they say, like, if you're feeling a bit down, you can smile. And the musculature of the smile sends signals to the brain and actually begins to change your biochemistry. And so an ally, when we use it intelligently, can have the same effect. When we understand what's happening energetically in our sphere, and we also understand where we'd rather be, an ally can be that guide, the like flashlight in the dark that hones us back to the energy that we would like to be existing in, or something that even amplifies the manifestation of where we're putting our effort. And this can be really true, especially in the spiritual practices. I'm guessing a lot of you on the call are yogis, maybe some of you are therapists. So you think about those times where you're on the right track, but imagine if you had a little companion to energetically amplify your efforts. So an ally can take many different forms, but just to kind of, again, get us on, make sure we just bought the right ticket for the spaceship we're taking flight on, and considering what an ally is in the first place. So these things that help to support and guide us in the direction that we want to go. And so we'll take a few minutes here to start from the beginning if some of you are less familiar with essential oils. So essential oils are the essence of a plant, and you can think about human beings who all have a unique fingerprint, and all plants in nature also have a unique biochemical fingerprint. And this fingerprint biochemically determines the talents, I will say today, the talents of the plant. So how it behaves in nature, how its immune system works, how we could say its plant consciousness works. And of course, then that lends itself to how it might interact with the human body, carrying that same intelligence. So we're really taking nature and steam distilling it, sometimes cold press distilling it, depending on the plant and how delicate it is. Jasmine is one that's very difficult to distill because it's such a precious flower. And our Egyptian partners just finally figured out a way to cold press and steam distill it into a pure essential oil. So that's been an exciting development. Any jasmine fans out there? Maybe you've never smelled the essential oil, but I'm in Greece right now, so I'm walking by a lot of jasmine flowers. And if you ever have, it's so intoxicating, and it's really easy just by that interaction of smell of the flower to understand how it has been so spiritually relevant in so many traditions across the millennia. Hi, gang. Is this fun? Is it like being on a roller coaster? This is the first time it's ever happened to me. All right, we're just gonna forge ahead and keep hoping for the best. Maybe my Zoom needed to update and it didn't before we went. So hang in there with me. We make it. So as I was mentioning, the essential oils are really the essence of the plant, this powerful, energetic. And again, for me as a holistic doctor, as a yogi, I feel like a lot of our work eventually in life is moving away from the thing itself and kind of harnessing the wisdom of the essence. And I mean, across the broad spectrum of any topic that we might talk about. And so essential oils are really bringing us back to the essence of life, which is part of the reason they carry so much power. And more interesting than that might be, how do they affect us? And here we know, as I was just describing, like walking by a jasmine bush, or you could pick your favorite flower, walking through a lavender field, maybe even take a moment to remember the last time you walked through a pine forest, or right, like something is happening at the cellular level. Something happens in the whole body. And that's because the olfactory nerve has a special connection with the limbic system. The limbic system is a collection of parts of our brain that has a vast impact, also vastness here, a vast impact on so many areas of from foundational function to memory to emotion. And so when we're taking things in, through the olfactory nerve, which means smelling, even the simplicity of opening a bottle and taking a whiff or walking through nature and smelling whatever it is that you're smelling, what's happening is that that information is impacting your heart rate, your respiration, your emotions, your hormones to some extent, your biochemistry. And so in an instant, that interaction has the capacity to almost, like you could almost say, change your entire reality. And we already know it to be true if we just think of one time in our lives that we've walked through nature and we really felt that like cellular shift in every part of us. So a lot of power here via the connection of the olfactory nerve to the limbic system. And so we're kind of, again, taking a scan of the what's, whys, and hows before we dive into the actual content, but how do we use the oils? And I just want to go back and say, just to say again, that we have to do our due diligence with wellness products these days. And so even what I just said, the effect from the olfactory nerve on the limbic system, if you happen to be smelling something chemical, it's going to do something completely different in the body than something that's purely coming from nature, that our bodies know how to interact with, that our bodies have the inherent wisdom to interact with. And so same goes here, only pure essential oils. So three main ways we use the oils: aromatherapy. Many people are pretty familiar with this idea. Topical use, many of you also might be familiar with this idea. And with some essential oils, not all, and with the guidance of a knowledgeable person about essential oils that are pure can also be ingested to support our physical health and sometimes our mental health. And so in general, when we talk about like approaches to putting anything, any elements, any allies, anything into our lives within the scope of wellness and quality of life and health, for me, there are like three approaches. And I find this important to sort of return to and remember, because there's so much consumerism surrounding us, it's very easy to get lost in the, oh, I heard this was good for me, so I'm going to get it. And I heard, we've all felt it to some extent or another. And so because the essential oils invite us back to the essence of the thing, it's also really nice to start honing in on, like, what are you actually wanting to do? And there's the therapeutic realm where you've discovered that there's an imbalance or maybe a state of dis-ease in the body, the mind, the spirit. And so you're applying a therapeutic program, a therapeutic prospectus to bring that back into harmony. If things are generally in harmony, but you're wanting to stabilize maybe a new state of well-being, there's the maintenance phase where we might have some therapeutic approaches still present, and we also might be holding in place some lifestyle changes. And then there's the lifestyle place where, as we know more and learn more and answer more questions and gain more insight about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what we're wanting to do it for, we start to understand that everything in life is a relationship. And so if we are not awarely making choices about our lifestyle to uphold whatever it is that we're going for in our wellness and our well-being and our spirituality and our physical health, then we're not really going to be able to realize that fully. So therapeutic maintenance, lifestyle, and just talking about the fact that everything is in fact relationship. And so we always want to come home to making sure that we're in a conversation with things and not just blindly using things because supposedly they're good for us. And as I also alluded to in the beginning of the webinar, one of the things that we're facing right now is our environment, our lifestyle, the velocity of life, the immediacy of things. We're starting to understand that the farther we have gotten from nature in all realms, the more damage we are causing for ourselves, for the environment. And this again is where the integrity comes in on all levels in choosing allies, like not just about us, but about everything, the sustainability of harvesting, the care of the earth that is providing us with things that can bring us back to our true nature. So we know now through research and reports, although it's not widely shared, I don't think enough, that there are thousands of chemicals being pumped into our system yearly, and very few of them are being tested. And those that are being tested are shown to be neurotoxins, endocrine disrupting. So that means disrupting the hormone axis and functionality in the body. We know that there are some carcinogenic stuff that is sort of everywhere, difficult to get around it. And why might this be important beyond that is that we are nature. And there's also no way to get around this. So no matter how far from nature life has gotten, we physically are nature. We are comprised of the exact same elements that nature is. And so all of the inherent wisdom, the body is incredible. The mind is incredible. The spirit is incredible, but all of it is based on the wisdom of, like, what we call in yoga natural law, right? Like literally on a cellular and molecular level, we are nature, which means that everything our body really knows how to do and do well is based on the wisdom of interactions of natural things. And the more we're inundated with things that are not natural, and the more we're living in a way that's not natural, the more difficulty we're finding and the more suffering we're incurring, again, on all levels. And so even just on this level, an essential oil as an ally in your life is a return to nature. So here's a roller bottle. This, oh, I guess with the blur, you can't see it. This is Blue Lotus. doTERRA right now is the only company, the only people in the world making this pure essential oil. There's plenty of synthetics out there that call themselves Blue Lotus, but this is the only pure oil in the world right now. So even again, just the simplicity of taking a moment and smelling an oil throughout the day, brings the entirety of the body through that very special connection of the olfactory nerve and the limbic system, right back to just remembering that we are nature. And obviously there are so many levels. And again, that's why we have, therapeutic interventions, maintenance, lifestyle, all of these varying tiers within which we can work. But there's no getting around that we're nature. And so using nature to bring us back to nature makes a lot of sense. And then, of course, because we're human beings and we're living the human experience, we know that we are very much habitual creatures, and habits are just habits. But there are habits that facilitate our well-being, and there are habits that pull us into states of dis-ease. And for me, as I broadened my experience with the oils, with sharing the oils, with using them in my practice and also in my own life, what I came to understand is that essential oils are incredible, what I like to call pattern or habit interrupters. So we know it's really easy as a human to change our mind, right? Like I could just say, hey, could you change your mind about this? And for a second, you could right now, instantly, you can change your mind. But we also know that the behavior that backs up the belief from which that habit came is much slower to change, right? Wouldn't you say? Like, we know this. We know the mind, wow, it can have a velocity, but the habits that we form and the way we interact with life based on our beliefs, it takes time. And so also these essences of nature, I have found, can be incredibly powerful tools for helping to not only rebuild healthier habits, but also just like give us checkpoints as we start to recognize which habits we carry or which habits we manifest that are pulling us away from a state of harmony or balance. When you are in that moment of discovery of like, oh, here it comes, I'm starting to react in this way, and you introduce an oil in that moment, you give yourself support of the clarity, and you also elongate that moment into responsiveness versus reactivity of an old habit, which puts you in that beautiful little window of freedom of choice. And so again, just the vastness of where we can introduce these oils into our lives. But for me, because we are habitual creatures, we know this, and we also know that it's difficult sometimes to break habits, even if we have deemed them to be moving against where we would like to go. And so having allies in that process of both breaking old patterns and facilitating the growth of new ones is a place that essential oils can be incredible allies. And I'm going to introduce you here as a palate cleanser, because I know that was already a lot of information, to two of my favorite pattern interrupting oils. So lavender is one of the most universally useful oils on the planet. And it's obviously such a beautiful plant. And we know that there is a calming and a soothing aspect to lavender. In traditional Chinese medicine, we relate the power of lavender to the movement of qi, which is the vital energy of the body. And the movement of qi in the body, according to traditional Chinese medicine, is governed by the liver organ. And so that organ is responsible for kind of keeping that smooth flow of integration, if you would, fluidity, flow. We talk so much about this in the yogic tradition as well. And lavender is a very powerful ally for all things related to being in the flow and maintaining our fluidity. And that's why it has such a soothing effect, because when we run into trouble and we're feeling, maybe stressed, or we're feeling like we can't calm down, or we can't, mostly what's happening in some way or another is the energy in the body becomes tight, stiff, right? Tense. And lavender is an incredible oil to just kind of like level the playing field again and put the qi back into movement, put the energy of the body back into movement, so that we can again guide it in the way that we want it to go, rather than staying kind of in those stuck states. And here in these next two slides, I'm also going to sneakily introduce you to the fact that lavender, although all the beautiful things I just described energetically, is amazing for burns. It's amazing for bites. It's antihistamine. You can actually take it in a glass of water and it helps with digestion. Lavender is chemically one of the most diverse oils that we have, one of the most biochemically diverse plants that we have. And so that also makes it incredibly diverse in its usage. But as we're going to look at in just a second, a little more deeply, every essential oil also has its own energetic template in the emotional and spiritual realm. And so, as I already alluded to, lavender is very soothing, but we can relate it to being able to express ourselves in the moment we need to. Who of us has not lived through a moment where we were in a situation? I'm not even going to give an example, because it can be so many different variations of situations that this can be true in. And you feel the thing bubble up into your throat and you want to say it, but for whatever reason, you don't. Anyone has had that human experience? Raise of hand, twinkle of fingers. Let me see that you're human out there. We all have, right? Those moments where like, usually that has to do with some external expectation, some emotional tapestry within us, right? There are also varying reasons that can happen. But lavender, on an emotional and spiritual level, is an assistant in giving us sort of the fluidity and flow, and the courage almost to allow those moments to happen. So you can imagine, if that's part of your living experience, or it's a significant part of your living experience, and you bring a lavender oil into your scope of practice that you're carrying in your pocket, and each time you start to feel that sensation of like, oh, I want to say this, and then, all the reasons come why you shouldn't say it, and you get the oil out and you give your body the indication, wait a minute, I have the freedom to say this. I have the freedom to express myself. And that's what I mean when I talk about pattern interruption and habit interruption, is that as we learn to integrate the oils into our lives, and I know I'm touching into sort of all the aspects with the pattern interruption oils, but it's a great segue into the little pockets that we'll look at next. So that's lavender sort of in a nutshell. I know there's a lot more information on these slides than I'm going to be able to say, but it's also just for you to like take what lands on you this time around. And the learning is really infinite. And the most important thing I'll get to in the very last slide, which is, again, we want to just like steer clear of, oh, that sounds great, so I want it. We want to get back into the mindset of what is important to me, what are the things that I'd like to work on, and gathering the allies that really relate to what is significant and relevant for us in any given moment. And because there are hundreds of essential oils, you have every possibility, even beyond the ones that I talk about today or that you may have heard about before, to kind of choose into and find the allies that are exactly right for you. Another great pattern interrupter, at least in my experience so far, is a blend that doTERRA makes called Adaptive. And Adaptive is all about adapting. It's about adapting in different environments, adapting to our ability to respond to stressors in a healthy way. And Adaptive is a really powerful oil for all things related to the nervous system and to both the sympathetic and parasympathetic aspects of the nervous system. What makes this blend particularly special is that we kind of know there are different aspects of, let's say, I'll use the word anxiety, right? There's like the anxiety that kind of sends you into firework land, and there's the anxiety that kind of freezes you. Both are a response of the nervous system. This blend can actually assist in soothing and softening both responses. So it can have a grounding effect in the moments where we're too scattered and too unballasted, but it can also have a lifting effect if we've moved into the depressive states of not handling the stressors of life, or we've moved into sort of the frozen states of not handling the stressors of life. So it's a very special blend in that way, physically and physiologically for the body. And what that kind of translates to is that feeling of being supportive supported, excuse me, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, really helps us respond instead of react. And we know very well, maybe through your yogic practice, maybe through your life experience, that when we are in a state of reactivity, we're often making choices, we're often doing actions that in retrospect, we would have done another way. But when we give ourselves a moment to really see the reality of any given moment and respond based on what we, see in that moment and what we know to be true from our past, we are interacting with life in a much more honest way. And Adaptive is an incredible ally, both for helping us to witness more clearly the moments where we are reactive, and also to support our responsiveness in life, and many more things. But again, time allowing, just going to touch on some ideas to get your mind hopefully like sparked and excited about the possibility of these incredible plant medicines as allies. So let's take a quick look at the emotional, mental health, spiritual realm. So emotions and oils, as I've already spoken about on a physical level, oils each have their unique fingerprint, their unique biochemistry that lends itself to a unique energy. And one way you can think about this, if that sort of sounds like philosophically, it's like, oh yeah, that's beautiful. Wait, what does that really mean? Think about human beings. We are all, even though we are all comprised of the same elements, we know that biochemically, every single human being on the planet is slightly different, right? We're all unique compilations of things. We also know that that has energetic ramifications. Not every person that you pass by on the street has the same energetic effect on you as others, right? And so we know that whatever is happening on the physical level with the slower vibrating, more densely vibrating things, that also has ramifications as we get into the more subtle or higher vibrating aspects of life. So each oil has a different biochemical fingerprint, which also means that it's supporting energetically different aspects of the experience of life. We also know that emotions energetically are quite unique from one another. The experience of sadness feels different than the experience of anger or the experience of happiness and joy or the experience. And so as you get to know the power of the oils and the personalities of the oils, what can begin to happen is a relationship where you can call the oils in to support your emotional journey. And again, this can happen on a therapeutic level, can happen on a maintenance level, it can happen on a lifestyle level. And this is where, again, we work as a community and we work through education and we work through supporting every individual in our community and really understanding what it is that they're working with, what it is that's happening for them, and aligning them with the right allies. In the emotional realm, and this is probably the simplest slide I've ever made, but I feel like this is a nice one just for your eyes to see also, is we want to think of also on the energetic level, like an oil can support the healthy expression of an emotion. And this is something that we don't do well as human beings right now in our society. We're not really having a good time with understanding healthy emotional expression anymore. And that's for many different reasons, which is beyond the scope of this particular webinar. But you can imagine an oil supporting you in whatever it is that you're going through, whether it's grieving, whether it's transitioning and the emotions that come with it. It can also help to balance. And this might be a little bit entering into the habit disrupting, habit forming aspect of how we might want to use the powers of the oil. And the last thing is that the oils can definitely help to counterbalance. So if we have moved into a place where maybe, who knows, again, like there are so many examples we could use, but maybe whatever you're going through in your life right now has left you incredibly unballasted. And you're aware of that, but you have to keep going, you have to keep handling your life. So maybe we're not necessarily going for something that's just soothing. Maybe in that case, we're going to counterbalance it with something that's deeply rooting and deeply anchoring, like a sandalwood or a vetiver. And so there's a lot of play little by little as you start to have these conversations. And this is also why oils as allies can be wonderful, because if you begin to look around your home and you think of all the things that you have chosen to support your life, and you imagine an oil being present for any of those possible scenarios, little by little, like we become the alchemists again of our own lives, but we also become incredibly empowered. Because as we find ourselves moving out of states of harmony before it gets extreme, we reach for the ally that we know will be helpful, and we just keep ourselves in that fluidity of homeostasis in life. And this is, of course, on an emotional level. So the oil that I'd love to share with you, just related to emotions in general, and again, these are all generalizations for now for today, is wild orange. Wild orange is like happiness in a bottle. If you've ever smelled, like I'm sure everyone has had the experience of cutting into a citrus, right? And how like it just makes your eyes kind of widen and sparkle a little. It makes you even look at my body language when I think about cutting into a citrus fruit. It kind of makes me stand up. It offers my heart forward more easily a little bit, just interacting with the smell of it. And in fact, citrus oils, so not only wild orange, but lemon, grapefruit, tangerine, lime, there's red mandarin, there's green mandarin. There are so many different aspects of citrus oils available. They are some of nature's most powerful antidepressants. And here again, I want to be really careful that I'm not necessarily talking about treating diagnosed depression with wild orange, but we also know that in our modern world, most of what is being thrown at depressive disorders are pharmaceuticals that aren't actually facilitating a change of the state of dis-ease. They're just stabilizing the symptoms. So I want to be really mindful to say, I'm not saying that this can treat depression, but the energy of these citrus oils can actually encourage the body out of depressive states. And so for me, it's a little bit unique because I am a doctor. What happens sometimes for me is I will integrate a citrus oil if I'm treating someone for depression. I might also be using herbal medicine. We might also have another strategy. I might also be treating them with acupuncture. But as a lifestyle ally, as a maintenance ally, as an integration ally, I'm also giving instructions in how to integrate the citrus oils into daily life. So there's the continual support and reminder to the system that the depressive state is not the homeostatic state. Breathe is another one that I love to introduce, especially within the emotional realm, because breathe is another. And in Europe, just to add to the confusion, this oil blend is called Air. I still haven't figured out, meeting the executives and talking to people within the doTERRA organization. I think it has something to do with the legalities amongst the different countries. But so breathe in the US, Canada, and Mexico, Air in Europe. So sorry for my Europeans on the call, just make a note of that. If you write down breathe, you might not find it when you go looking for it. But this blend is all about opening the airways, all about opening the mechanism of breath and of the chest. And we know through study of the chakras, through study of energy, that, you know, like everything is integrated and works together. So when we are talking about the opening of the lungs, the opening of the chest, we also know that there is a positive effect on the heart as well. And the heart is where we're filtering and navigating all emotional experiences in life. So keeping the energetic of the heart open has support for a healthier emotional experience in life is really vital. But we also know that one of our first defense mechanisms against a strong emotional experience is to stop the breath, because this is where, right, energetically, we can protect ourselves from what feels maybe too strong to navigate, or what we might be afraid to feel, or what we might imagine isn't the appropriate thing to express in the moment we're needing to express it. And so breathe, and hopefully you're starting to clue in, like, not only as allies, but almost everything I'm talking about, you probably starting to see the like woven element of, oh yeah, I can sort of pattern interrupt, I can support, right, the more healthy manifestation of these very normal experiences of life. Somehow I feel like in modern life, we've demonized a little bit emotions, but emotions are literally the beautiful way that we respond to life. Like this is a very normal, natural, beautiful part of the human experience. It's just that we've gotten really far away from remembering how to healthfully express them and having the confidence to do that in the right time, in the right place, in the moment that they arrive, and in the right way. And so something like breathe can be profoundly supportive of just emotional expression in general by keeping us breathing. Right? The next time you have sort of something that stops your breath, imagine if you had your breathe in your pocket. And I know also, like, you're probably imagining, how many oils am I going to have to carry in my pocket? But don't worry, you can organize yourself in a way that's valuable for you. I mean, these are all examples, but, you know, imagine if you know that to be a vulnerability for yourself, that you tend to kind of hold the breath throughout the day as you're dealing with stressors, and just to remind yourself to take a deep breath, lower your shoulders, right? Exhale to become more present, and then navigating your life from that space instead of the space where you're held and tight and incapable of accessing your potential for interacting with life. So breathe is another one really powerful on the emotional spectrum. And I'm going to skip right over this because we still have quite a bit to cover with a few more slides. But again, just to sort of tap into how these can be valuable, some examples, and where you might start thinking about, wow, wouldn't it be so cool if I had something that would support me in this piece of my life that I know I'm struggling with, or that I would like to grow in, or that I would like to access in a more powerful way. So when we get to the physical realm, again, often we are talking about ingesting the oils, but I wanted to share this example with you because it is something that we're really navigating in the modern world, that most modern medicines have taken a symptomatic approach to disease. And what that means is that they temporarily make you feel better by masking a symptom, but they're actually doing profound foundational damage to the body. So something like allergies, I feel like everyone can relate to, which is why I chose this example. So seasonal allergies is a thing. It can be genetically predispositioned, but we know through epigenetics that it can even be cured, even if you have the genetic predisposition. And allergies actually are something that can be cured. But because we're pressured to not miss work, to keep going, to power through, right? What we've been sold are things that stop the mucus formation in the body, that stop all of the symptoms of allergies. But what's actually happening is that, so you start with seasonal allergies, you follow the little circle. This is an inflammatory response in the body. You treat it with over-the-counter drugs. But what we're not told is what those over-the-counter drugs also do, in addition to masking the symptoms, is they're wreaking havoc on the microbiome. And we know through so many studies, more and more deeply, we've always known this actually in traditional Chinese medicine, that the state of the gut is directly associated to the health of the immune system. So inadvertently, you're wreaking havoc on your microbiome. So you're creating a vulnerability in your immune system, but also as the gut has dysbiosis, as the microbiome is out of balance, what that also does is start creating low-grade inflammation in the body, which leads to allergies not going away or getting worse throughout one's lifetime. On the alternative side, we have lavender, lemon, and peppermint, also through studies that we know are very powerful antihistamine combinations. So you can actually use the oils as symptomatic relief, but also we know that lemon is boosting glutathione production in the liver, which is helping your body to detoxify, which is assisting in keeping the microbiome healthy. The lavender can do the same internally, but is also soothing the nervous system and helping with an anti-inflammatory response. Peppermint is also helping with a healthful anti-inflammatory response. So here, what you have on the other side is something that's actually empowering your body to do what it inherently knows how to do, and helping it to do that in the most healthful way. So that can be one example of something physical. And obviously there are really numerous. And the other one that I'll touch on is pain. Definitely in our society, same as like being sick or appearing vulnerable, pain is something that we've tended to demonize. And I'm sure that all of us, myself included, have had moments where we injured ourselves or we feel pain, and we allow that pain to influence every aspect. Our mood changes, how we interact with people changes. We get stuck in thinking like, oh, I have pain, and the energy of your body tenses, and then the pain is the bad guy. So it's like, I have pain, and you want to fight against it, right? But like that pain is your body saying, hey, something is awry, right? These are the messages that we are being trained to combat, which brings tension and an unhealthy stress response and alters our character momentarily, versus when you feel pain, imagine having something that you can connect to the pain with, that's also therapeutically enhancing circulation, helping with a healthy inflammatory response, which is necessary for whatever it is that you're dealing with to heal. And again, remember that we have a broad spectrum. I'm not saying that you're going to slap some deep blue if you have a ruptured disc and the ruptured disc is going to go away. So definitely stay with me in the essence of the idea. But imagine having this ally where when you do feel discomfort, you have something to reach for and say, okay, I hear you, body. I'm listening to you. And here's something that can help you as I listen to, like, what is the origin of this pain? And I can make shifts in all the other areas of my life. It's a totally different story. So also in the realm of pain. And then, of course, we do have doTERRA makes a series of pretty amazing supplements. And again, I'm just going to kind of gloss over this. We have a cleanse and restore program we do live twice a year, which is a gut reset and an inflammatory healing month-long program where we do use the supplements, but equally with the integrity of the company. So many supplements on the market are synthetic. And so really you're just paying for stuff that your body is peeing out because it doesn't recognize it. doTERRA has made a dedicated effort to not only make sure that there are whole food aspects to all of their supplements, but there are also essential oil supplements like the DDR Prime. It's just a combination of essential oils in a capsule. So elegant, so powerful, so beautiful. But even down to our digestive enzymes, they have the DigestZen blend, which is a digestive support blend inside the digestive enzymes. And what the preliminary research is showing is that the presence of the oils with the supplements are actually helping the body to use them to a greater extent. So oils for all physical levels. And again, sky's the limit with what you want to talk about. And then our last topic, and I know we're kind of getting near time, so if you can hang with me just for 3 or 4 more minutes, and I'll go through this really, really quickly. I appreciate you hanging in there with me. So non-toxic living. And as I've already mentioned, there are so many things in our environments that we're sold that we just don't really think about, from cleaning products to shampoo to, bath and body lotions and cosmetics and everything. It's estimated that 60% of what you put on your skin gets into the bloodstream. So it isn't insignificant. I've definitely talked to people along the way. They're like, oh, it's just a lotion, so it's just on the surface of the body. Well, your skin, first of all, is like the largest organ in the body, right? So it's not insignificant, but the skin is also the barrier, and it allows things to get into the body. And so we want to, in the mindset of thinking about living better and more conscientiously, we also want to think about what we are actually keeping in our environment and using as products. And I'm just going to introduce you to one more oil today, and that's because it's another oil, all of them really, that can sort of break the boundaries of helping us see just how powerful these little guys are. So this is the On Guard blend. Wild orange, clove, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus, rosemary. It's a blend that comes from medieval times, medieval medical practices, when they were trying to ward off things like the plague and very serious pandemic, epidemic types of things. This is what actually the doctors would wear in those snouts to protect their immune system as they had to navigate a world with a lot of infectious disease. And the qualities of On Guard are protective, strengthening, and fortifying. And I'm just going to skip ahead really quickly and I'll come back. But this is one experiment that a student in our community did as a science fair project. And you can probably see my cursor here in the upper left quadrant is On Guard blend in the Petri dish. This is Clorox bleach here. This is Lysol, and this is another control product. And so not only do we know that this combination of essential oils is a powerful supporter of the healthy functioning of our immune system, but it actually is powerfully killing off microbes. And the reason that I present this in the non-toxic living is there is the whole realm of non-toxic living, of do-it-yourself things. And I have a lot of clients now who have gotten deeply involved in making their own products. And they say, they're like, I can't believe that we've lost this practice because, one, it's so much cheaper than buying products. Obviously, if you're using recyclable, glass bottles instead of plastic bottles that you're reusing for your spray, for your laundry detergent, whatever it might be. But imagine if your laundry detergent did kill germs, did clean your clothes, but also had this incredible side effect of supporting your family's immune system. Like, to me, that's so cool. So in the non-toxic living, the essential oils can really cross all the barriers. And if you really want to get nerdy about it, then you think of, well, if I use a citrus oil in my laundry or when I'm cleaning my kitchen, then I'm supporting my emotional well-being, and I'm also cleaning and purifying my kitchen. And this to me seems like such a better option than filling my space with chemicals. I don't know about you, but On Guard happens to be that there is a whole line of cleaning products whose foundation is the On Guard blend. And of course, there is the On Guard blend that we use in a lot of our immune system, flu season. During COVID, it was an incredible ally for so many reasons. And like all of the other oils I've introduced you to today, it not only has those physiological powers and physical impact on the body, but it has the emotional and energetic. And when you think about your immune system, one of the things I love about the antimicrobial oils, so these are the On Guard blend, thyme, oregano, even tea tree, are powerful, like antiviral, antifungal, antimicrobial oils, is when you think about something that is attacking you, right? On the physical level, we think of it as an infection, but on an energetic level, this can also be like toxic relationships, our inability to set healthy boundaries. And so even there, as it depends on like how into this stuff you want to be. But again, for me, I find it so incredible that we could take into consideration all of the aspects of this, that physiologically I choose something, but usually when something physiologically is happening or we need support there is a mirror image of that on an energetic level. And so also when you think about disinfecting your home or cleaning your home or having, cleaning products as On Guard as one of the cleansing agents, you're also energetically like setting healthy boundaries in your living space. And you're also sort of warding off the possibility for energy vampires and toxic relationships, which can feel exciting. And so this is a nice image, on the left, so many things that take away symptoms. And I'm not going to say good or bad, but we do know that chemically, these cause damage in the physical body, even though they do give us temporary relief. But I think it's very interesting too to look at a picture like this. I don't know about you, but when I look at just the left side of the screen, I'm kind of like, oh, medicine cabinet. And I look at the right side of the screen and my shoulders automatically are like, oh, that's nice. Same impact, same possibility for wellness, for health, for healing, for lifestyle, but something that the body on all levels, from the most physical to the most subtle, recognizes and can actually use. And here's another blend. This is just an example of some of the non-toxic products also that doTERRA is making now. This is the Abode line. It's another type of blend that they're doing a lot of research on for antimicrobial and cleaning, from kitchen soap to laundry detergent, you name it. And of course, we also kind of look at the soaps and the shampoos and things where we can eliminate toxic influences in the life. And the other thing that I will just mention as we bring this webinar to a close, I know it's a lot and I always get so enthusiastic. So it's something that I'm constantly working on because I really enjoy talking about this stuff, but more so because I really love empowering people with different choices. One thing that comes up often in the realm of wellness, like, oh, how am I going to spend more money? Well, like one way we face this is like, we just try not to spend new money, meaning you're already buying laundry detergent. So what if you just buy a non-toxic laundry detergent, or, you're already buying the sinus, stuff. So instead, why don't you just invest in the lemon, lavender, and peppermint? And so like little by little, we transition without having to make a big new investment, without adding that stressor of investment. But it is also true that if we don't take care of ourselves, the result inevitably in some way or another is that we'll be forced to take care of ourselves. And when that time comes that we're forced to take care of ourselves, the financial and energetic and emotional aspects of that are much stronger than anything we might have to face in just changing our perspective now on behalf of our well-being. And I will send this to you in the email. This is a co-impact sourcing video that I know we don't have time to see just now. So I will send it to you, but I really love showing people the human aspect of the integrity of not only having these incredible plant medicines, but that the company is dedicated to making a positive impact in the countries where these things are coming from, taking out the middlemen and really working with the people who know the land the best, not only for sustainability, but also for sustainability of these cultural populations of, oops, no. Okay, there we go. So just to end, and then I'll open the floor to questions if you're able to stay or if you have questions. 3 pathways to empowerment. If you've been inspired, if you're not yet involved in the oils, this picture is actually showing a kit that you can buy with our 10 sort of most used essential oils, and you'll see some familiar characters in there. There is the Digestion that I spoke about, oregano, the On Guard blend, the Breathe blend, or the Air in Europe, Deep Blue, which is for inflammation, peppermint, lemon, lavender. So I've already introduced you to a lot of these oils, but this can be one way to kind of opt into the world of oils as allies by getting a group of 10 oils in to your home, to your environment that you know helps you to already begin to span the vast possibility from emotional mental health support to physical support to non-toxic living. So this is a nice way, but this is the most important thing that I want you to hear in the entirety of the webinar. First, please answer questions. What a strange thing to say at the end of a webinar when you might have questions for me. What do I mean by this? It's what I've said a couple of times, so I'm just going to say it again. We are living in a world where there are so many things that are good for you, that you should have, that you should be doing, that you should be taking. But if it isn't relevant to you and your story, in my opinion, it isn't relevant. And so one of the things that we aspire to do, at least in our essential living community, and that I aspire to do as a doctor, is to help people ask questions according to their experience. So what I mean by make sure you're answering questions is after this webinar, if you're really inspired to get started with the oils or to know more, connect again with whoever invited you, connect to me. You'll have my email in just a few minutes when I send out the recording and that video for your viewing pleasure. And we'll hop on a 20-minute consultation call so I can understand where you are, what your needs are, and we can start answering those questions, because it's only in answering those questions that it's going to feel relevant to you in your life, and that it's actually going to create a not only like feelable, is that English? It's not the best English, but anyway, we're at the end of the webinar. So a livable experience of change and transformation, but it inherently is more sustainable because it's meaningful to you. So whatever your next action is, I highly encourage you to give it a little thought and start asking your mentors, your guides, whoever it might be, me, reaching out to me, start asking and helping us to help you formulate the good questions that need answering in your life so that the choices you make are really relevant and valuable to your life. And so 3 ways to get started with the oils. You start to live the lifestyle. That means you start to invest in some of the oils with guidance, of course, and with education, and you start creating healthy habits with the oils as your allies. Maybe that leads to you wanting to empower other people, sharing the oils. And there is a possibility with this company to even create a wellness business that some people do as a supplementary income. Some people actually replace their income. That's probably down the line. But the first thing to do is start living with these incredible allies so that you can feel the magic of their presence and the magic of the empowerment that they bring into your life on all levels. All right. So at this point, again, thank you for sticking with me. I know that we're a little bit over the time, but I'd love to open the floor for those of you who have been able to hang with us for questions, comments, like good information. I learned something new. You can type it into the chat if you're not able to unmute. Let me hear you for a second, or if you've got a question. Can you, yes, you can ingest adaptive, actually, you can. And there is a version of adaptive that comes in capsules. So there's an adaptive blend. There are particular, circumstances where we might want to introduce that as ingestible, but I have definitely made myself some cups of adaptive tea over the years since the adaptive blend came out. So you can ingest it. Yeah. Again, with guidance and, with the know-how of like why you're doing it. But yes. How long does the effect last? So does this mean like in general for all oils, or can you clarify a little? Can I ask you to unmute and you can ask it in person? Yasin?
Hi, thank you very
Hi.
much for the nice webinar. I enjoyed it very much, and
Oh,
thanks
thank you.
for sharing the information with me.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome.
I had a few of these lovely oils during the yoga teacher training with
Mm-hmm.
Amy, and I was very fascinated. I could feel the difference instantly, actually, but I'm very prone to essential oils. I didn't know doTERRA before.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
And
I'm responding to the
I was using other oils, but
yeah.
I would like to know, so you use normally a few drops, actually 1 drop or maximum 2 drops, and I'd like to know how long the effect normally lasts. I mean, if you, for example, start a yoga session, you are going to make a decision for one oil, and then it should maybe, I mean, ideally last for the whole session, right? So what can we expect from this oil?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I appreciate you asking this question. So every oil is a little bit different. And when you start getting into understanding the oils chemically a little bit more, we have what we call base notes, middle notes, and top notes. So the top note oils are things like the citrus oils, peppermint. They're very volatile oils, which means they evaporate the fastest. And then we have like base note oils, something like sandalwood, that can actually linger on the skin for up to 24 hours. And that's why patchouli is another one, vetiver is another one. The nice thing to know, especially if you're relating it to a yoga session that's usually an hour and a half, 2 hours, is that even the top notes evaporate within between, and again, it's oil dependent, between 2 and 4 hours. So even just using one oil at the beginning of a yoga practice, now there are a couple of things that happen. One is that the olfactory nerve, if it continues to smell the same smell, it happens also with the diffuser. Over time, we will lose the perception that we're still smelling that smell, but it doesn't eliminate the chemical interaction, meaning the oil is still there, the olfactory nerve is still sending the information to the limbic system, but we little by little become unaware just because of the way our brain works that we're still smelling it, if that makes sense. So it's
Yeah.
sometimes common for someone to say, oh, I can't smell it anymore. It's still there, but just the brain, because it's constant stimulation. If the brain is having to say, I'm smelling this, I'm smelling this, I'm smelling this. But most top notes last between 2 and 4 hours. So even using a top note oil in a yoga practice, you are likely to have yourself covered for a handful of hours. And the other thing, and I know this is beyond the scope of your question, but two other things I'd like to mention with regards to that is because the limbic system is associated with memory formation and long-term memory. For us yogis, it becomes an incredible ally for bringing yoga off the mat. Meaning, if you decide to introduce an oil into your practice, and during your practice, right, you are beginning to embody the sensation and the experience of unity, of peace, of harmony, like whatever it is that you experience in Shavasana throughout your practice, the insights, those are now associated with the smell that you had during that practice, which means that anytime as you step off your mat, if you're needing to recall the memory of that wisdom, all you have to do is open your bottle of essential oil. And so there's that powerful liaison as well for kind of bringing our practices off the mat and tapping into the fact that long-term memory and memory formation is part of what these oils are impacting. And that has made really significant, like positive impact on a lot of the people that I work with. And then again, I know this is a little bit beyond your question, but like how long do the effects last? So ultimately, what we're going for, knowing that all of life is an exchange, that's where also you just want to like for a yoga class, okay, I know we're at the base level, so you're fine, you're covered. If you use one oil at the beginning of the class, if the class lasts 2 hours, you're still fine. You're still interacting with that oil. But when we also talk about like creating habits, obviously there's it depends on the length of consistency before we're seeing the resulting habitual actions and decisions and mental capacity shifting over time in a sustainable way, even without the oils, if that makes sense. I know that went a little bit above and beyond, but it's a beautiful question. So I wanted to get as much in as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah. Any other questions, clarifications?
I will shoot a question your way if you don't mind, Molly.
Yeah.
Thank you
Hi,
so much.
Sky.
Nice to see your face.
Nice to see your face.
Thank you so much for the session. Loved it. I'm just curious, like in terms of ingesting some of the oils, like lemon, for instance, I'm just wondering, like, what is really the benefit of that versus just using lemon in your cooking or soaking it in your water? What's the case for an oil?
Yeah. So when we're talking about citrus specifically, so I mean, it depends again on the oil, but with lemon, there actually is a very significant reason for using the oil rather than the fruit. So we know that the fruit lemon is very acidic. And if you are eating or, putting lemon juice in water on a regular basis, it can have an effect on the mucous membranes of the body. It also can have an impact on the enamel of the teeth. It can have an impact on your taste buds. So because the fruit as it is that way, and that's specifically with the citrus fruits, it can be damaging to the body to do that on a regular basis. The essential oil, because it's made from the zest of the fruit, which is actually where a lot of that power comes from, instead of the fruit itself, you have all of the medicinal qualities of the fruit without the acidity. And so it makes it much more sustainable to take on a daily basis. The other part there is that it's nice to know that an essential oil is 50 to 70 times more potent than the plant or the fruit itself. Meaning, one of the examples that I know floats around a lot is like 1 drop of peppermint is equal to 27 cups of peppermint tea. Because we are condensing, right? We are making more potent the power of the plant when we're doing the extraction process. And so something like lemon, you're going to see it really commonly and consistently used right now, people recommending. Part of the reason is that we are living in a very toxic world. And as I mentioned, lemon has this really special way to support the liver in its detoxification superpower. And also lemon in traditional Chinese medicine and all of the citrus fruits help to stabilize and harmonize the digestive process, but also is able to help pull out unnecessary dampness and mucus and inflammation from the body. So because you asked about lemon, again, I know I'm going a little bit above your question, but as far as comparing the fruit to the oil, those would be the foundational reasons. And then because we know that we can use it consistently because it doesn't have any negative side effects, it has more value, especially with what we're facing these days with just the pressures of life on the physical body. Does that help?
Very much so. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's not to say that you can't make a fresh cup of lemon juice, you know, every once in a while. I still do. But doing that on a regular basis is challenging for the body. So it's not to say you shouldn't ever drink the fruit juice, but
Mm,
I think you
okay.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Anything else, Ames? Anything you want to add, say, ask?
No, that was amazing. That was just wonderful and amazing as always. Thank you so much. Sorry,
Oh, thank
I've had a
you.
bit of a feeling ill day today, but
Oh,
I've had my
no.
oils on the side, digesting. But yeah, it was great. I'm glad I could come along
Yeah,
and
thanks for hopping in. Thanks for
so
hopping
thank
in.
you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And thanks, I know Cindy, I think probably had to run off and we're at 20 minutes after the hour. So I want to let everyone get on with their, is it Sunday? It is Sunday,
Mhm.
right? Today's Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. I'm teaching a meditation course right now, and I often don't do courses on Saturdays, but I'm doing that one on Saturdays. So it's thrown off my my timing a little bit of understanding what day Zooms are happening. But to close, everyone, thank you again so much for your presence. It really means a lot to me. And I think it should also mean a lot to you that you took the time and made the time to be here live. As I said, you know, I know we're all overwhelmed with information, with Zooms, with being on technology, et cetera, et cetera. There were 16 people registered for this webinar. And so the fact that you're here is much, much appreciated. And hopefully you got a lot out of being here in real time and feeling it and seeing it this way. And for all of you that will be watching the replay, send us your questions, connect with us in some way live so we can bring that human element into all of it, because that's a very important piece to work together and have the right education and guidance as you get started or move deeper in your journey. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I look forward to being in contact later on down the road. And again, connect with whoever invited you here, connect with me as I send the replay out so that we can guide you in the way that will be most relevant and impactful for your life and your well-being, right? Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everyone.
Thanks, Molly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Goodies.